Good to be with you for our next devotion. We are finally in Hebrews chapter 3 now, and boy, do we have a warning set before. So hopefully you and I are both paying great attention to the scriptures today. Chapter 3 begins that Jesus is greater than Moses, that we have rest in God as God's people. But then this warning is going to jump out at the very end, and it's going to play into everything that we just read with Moses. And what we're getting at is an unbelieving heart. And there's a little bit of a taste of this even from chapter 2, where the people were drifting away. So here's once again another warning. So what this means is that those that were hearing this message that was written to these Hebrews, like many of them, I believe, and I think many scholars believe as well, were not saved. They were not genuinely saved, but curious about the things of Christ and the things of the scriptures. So they were close. They were seeking, I guess you could say, but not genuinely saved. And maybe they even walked in ways that might have looked like a Christian. I think it's very parallel to moments today where many people in the church can say, I'm a Christian. You could be a part of a Bible study. You can even go to church, yet live totally aside from Christ outside of these moments. These kind of like the spiritual moments, right? So let's take heed of this warning today, and let's pick it up at verse 16. And it says this, it says, for who were those who heard and yet rebelled? Okay, somebody has gotten a powerful witness from God. They have rebelled. Was it not all those who left Egypt led by Moses? So we got to go back to the book of Exodus and remind ourselves of the people that are being spoken of here. Moses freed them from slavery. God used Moses. God delivers them to the law. They pass through the Red Sea. They're going to the promised land, but they have to wander in the wilderness for their disobedience, for their rebellion. And what the author is saying is, look at the great witness that God showed these people powerfully. He was with them in the cloud by day and the fire by night, the miracles that were going and happening in and through Moses, the law being given, God resting on Mount Sinai and people just in utter fear. All of these things, and guess what? Those people seeing all that, experiencing all that, still rebelled. And that's where he's going with this. And with whom was he provoked for 40 years? They were wandering around 40 years in the wilderness. And God said that that generation would not enter into the promised land because of their disobedience. And to whom did he swear that they would not enter his rest? That's actually entering into the promised land of his rest. But to those who were disobedient. So we see they were unable to enter because of unbelief. So the story being built here, the context of where we're at is these people had all these signs, had all these examples, had all these experiences. They had Moses himself, God doing these tremendous works, and still had unbelief. And because of their unbelief, they couldn't enter into the rest. They couldn't enter into their salvation in that moment. Now we link it to Christ. Are you entering into the rest of Christ? Have you entered into the salvation that Christ has to offer, freeing you and me from the slave market to enter into the rest of God, to be united and connected with him, to be one with Christ as Christ is with the Father? Has that happened? And what we're seeing here is, hey, there are people that can hear all this, see all this, experience these things, and still have unbelief. And friends, I hope that's not you watching this today. I hope that's not you in this unbelief. And maybe you're wrestling through and struggling through things. I guess my greatest encouragement to you is when I was young in my Christian walk, and it still happens today, but especially when I first became a Christian, man, I had so many questions. I didn't fully comprehend all I was reading and understanding. Christianity was very new to me, and it was a handful of godly adult men that kind of took me under their wings, answered my questions, gave me time, was able to disciple me in a way to really grow my faith and to make it solid. And I know, being a pastor and being in the church world for 2 decades now, that many people have never experienced the fullness and the joy of discipleship. We might call things discipleship, and we might go, yeah, I've been a part of this, and that's discipleship. But to live life with another or a community of people, to really share out your faith in your life, to ask questions, to really be discipled strategically, which is, when I say that, is Jesus says, go disciple and teach them to observe all that I have commanded. For someone to really walk through the scriptures and give you a full understanding and a scope of it. And That is just so amazing. And so if you haven't had that, if you have questions, if you have doubts, things that are swirling, maybe a ton of unbelief, my fear is that you're not in Christ, but I also want to be able to have people or people within the church to be able to help you and assist you and answer questions, to not be left alone in this journey. That's the whole point of the church, the family of God. So I want to encourage you to reach out to your pastors, to reach out to your teachers, your small group teachers, maybe it is, your deacons, maybe in your church, and get connected in more to be able to have that kind of level of discipleship. And if you're in Christ and you have these moments where you feel yourself maybe drifting or moving into some things of unbelief or just having some hard times, it's really the same principle. Where you need is Christ, and what you need is God's people. And so nothing's ever stopping you from repenting today, of saying, Lord, I'm really wrestling, or I'm really struggling through this, and to get yourself connected in with God's people. There's nothing more important than getting connected in with God's people. And so I want that to be our challenge today. If you're feeling distant, unconnected, get connected. You take the first step. Go for it. You won't regret it if you get connected within godly people. Doesn't matter their age, if they're so much older than you, if you're a peer group, just get connected in. It'll be a life-changing moment for you. God bless you guys. Until next time.